Hello, I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the third episode of Series 17 of Taskmaster. It's been a really good season so far. I'm really enjoying the episodes that we've got, and this one was another pretty good episode. I love the way this episode started with the banter that we normally get with Greg and Alex. I thought the opening bit about Alex fancying his neighbour was really funny, and something that Alex seemed genuinely uncomfortable by, which is always funny. And yeah, a fantastic way to start the episode. The prize task as well, I actually thought was a pretty good prize task. One that's actually not too out there, which is surprising when we're at Series 17. And this was the best thing to give to human that's normally used for an animal. That kind of wording, something like that. And we started off really strongly with John's, which was my favourite one and the winner of this task. And that was the elephant chair. And I hate to admit it, but like Greg, I did imagine an actual elephant in the chair rather than the chair on the elephant. So I was a bit confused as well to start off with. But this was a genuinely really good prize, like one that you would want to win and take home. So for me, John did an absolutely brilliant job at this because, yes, as well, while it's good that you can sit in the chair, but it's made for an elephant, you are also doing something good by having it not be used on an elephant because it is bad. So in my opinion, this was a perfect prize for this category. Unfortunately, that was followed by Nick's pretty bad prize. I get where he was going with it and I liked the idea. As somebody who bites my nails, I can imagine having a cone on my hand. Although it would be very inconvenient, it would probably stop me biting my nails. So I get the idea behind it, but it's a pretty poor prize to win, and also the actual picture of it just didn't look like it'd be effective at all. So yeah, I don't blame Greg for putting him in bottom place for this at all. But as I said, get the idea, just doesn't really work the way he intended. I personally did really like Steve's prize of the scratching brush. You can imagine getting out of the shower and using the scratching brush and stuff like that. I think as well it kind of goes back to, when you go through a car wash and it always seems really satisfying. It's I wish I was in the car, I don't know, I feel like that's something people have thought. Maybe it's just me, but that does kind of seem quite satisfying. It's kind of drawing on that to me. So I probably would have put this a bit higher, but I did quite like Joanne and Sophie's. I like their idea. This idea of, one person going more restricted access with Sophie with her timer food bowl, and then Joanne's with the just go feral with a trough. I thought both of them were quite good. Sophie's fat shaming joke was absolute perfection. She definitely is the standout for me in terms of her humour in the studio, and she just stands out, and she is just absolutely fantastic. I did really like Joanne's explanation of the troughs and how people are going back to nature. So all in all, I thought this was a really, really good prize task. I thought everybody gave a good amount of effort, even if their prize tasks weren't that great, but there was definitely humour from all of them. And yeah, I thought they're really, really doing very well on the prize tasks this season. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with that, because often the prize tasks are the weakest part, but I thought season 16 did kind of bring back the prize tasks, and there was a lot of fun and humour around the prize tasks in that season, and they're definitely carrying that on into series 17 as well. Then we moved on to the first proper task of this episode, and this was back in the location that they have, the field, and I'm really enjoying this location for this series. I think it's really good. There's a lot of space for them to just kind of go wild with it. And this is also where we see the Handmaid's Tale outfits that we saw in the trailer, which I was really excited to see how they would be using a task. And I did really like this, that it does just take away your peripheral vision. And yeah, I thought it was a really cool, funny look to have in Taskmaster. And this as well, the task, again, I really enjoyed taking a simple 20 questions and turning it into a fun game. And this was obviously to work out who is following you. I really enjoyed this task. Very simple, but really funny, things from everybody. The addition of the person or robot, I don't know if it's a person saying the words, or whether it's automated. I thought the addition of not being able to say yes or no or maybe and turning it into mammal, bird, amphibian was really, really funny and did add that extra challenge, especially if you're not very good at animals, which I was surprised about how many people didn't know what a kiwi was. And also, Joanne, yeah, she was right. She is not good with animals. However, I do feel they did make it extra hard with the animals things. I did think they chose some obscure animals where it's like, oh, I've never heard of that before. Like, I don't know whether that's a mammal or an amphibian or a bird. So that did make it extra challenging. And the only person who really did it was Steve at the start, but the idea of making like a statement and whether or not the person following you agreed or disagreed with you, I thought that was weird. And it seems like everybody just kind of ignored that apart from Steve. So yeah, the wording of that bit wasn't great, but I don't really think it impacted the task that much. I thought everybody's attempts at this was quite fun. I think starting with John was a really good idea because he was somewhat logical with his questions. Like, he went with a very like standard approach, like using, are you a human or an animal, those kind of questions, and then resorting to like the ABC kind of method. I thought his cable SCART lead thing was absolutely hilarious. Like, it makes sense, like it's 100% logical, but it just sounds absolutely ridiculous, like the way he was saying it. But yeah, really, really funny. And I thought the reveal with John as well, like I said, like he went with quite the standard questions. The reveal of him getting Mr. Blobby and then revealing Mr. Blobby was very, very good. It was hilarious. And I liked the kind of like green screeny thing they did to make Mr. Blobby like you couldn't see Mr. Blobby. So it made it so that we could play along as well. And I did not get there at all. I mean, I know we didn't see all of John's questions, but I thought it was pretty difficult. But like as soon as he said, I was like, oh, of course. But I did think it would be really difficult to get to Mr. Blobby with those questions. And I think it was especially funny. I know they do mention it later on, but the fact that Joanne had already mentioned him in the show before. As I said, I think Steve was kind of held back by the way he kind of asked the questions, like using them as statements and stuff. So I do admire him for like following the rules of the task. And he did eventually go back to just like yes or no questions. But definitely the wording, I think, held Steve back, especially as he actually followed what it like you were supposed to do. But he still did pretty well, getting 3 points. Joanne, I mean, are we surprised that Joanne won? Because she was obviously a massive fan of Mr. Blobby and she got there pretty quickly. But I guess the one thing with her attempt is like, should Alex have just stopped the clock when she guessed if it was Mr. Blobby? Like, it was her animal knowledge that really did hold her back and made it so that she didn't know whether she'd actually won. Like, she probably could have won a few bits before. Like, I know it doesn't really make that much of a difference because she won anyway, but should Alex have stopped the clock and been like, yeah, you got it right? It's funnier that he didn't, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, she had some really, really funny questions. I'm convinced she made the robot laugh at some point, so I do think that it is a person behind there, like, talking live, almost. Maybe just have a list of all bunch of mammals and birds and Mr. Blobby facts. Pairing up Nick and Sophie was a perfect choice. They're going to be paired up a lot this season. They are such a good duo, even though, I kind of wish they were on a team together. That would be just chaos. I was really happy that Nick got it because I was rooting for him. He was there for so long and asked so many questions. I'm glad he persevered and kept going, because I can imagine it would have been really frustrating. Like, if you just not, you wouldn't have, I wouldn't have thought about him whatsoever. So I'm really impressed that he managed to finally get it. And it seemed very obvious when he was saying all the things. But yeah, maybe he should have gone for the ABC method that Steve and John went down. I definitely think that really, really helped them get to where they needed to be. And Sophie, again, just absolutely hilarious. Just did not understand what she was supposed to be doing at all. And for some reason was convinced that she knew that she would know who the person was, personally. I definitely agree with the fact that she got disqualified because she did see him. So I think that's not even a question. 100% should have been disqualified. But yeah, just hilarious. I thought it was just such a fantastic task. Really designed to confuse the contestants, which leads to hilarious moments. And yeah, I just think a really well-designed task. And again, taking just a classic game of 20 questions or yes or no, I don't know, whatever people call it, and adding in fun Taskmaster elements to make it more Taskmaster-esque rather than just a classic game. So yeah, I thought this was a really, really good task. The next task was to create a job-stacle course. And again, this is kind of similar to maybe the hotel task we had in Series 16, where they're taking kind of chores and mundane tasks and responsibilities and turning it into a challenge. And I did like the actual job-stacle course. I think, the added element of having to keep the water, not spill the water, and then a limit of 8 minutes to complete all the tasks. I think it was 8 minutes. So they had a lot of those restrictions, which I think maybe that really made the contestants kind of rush and added to the risk of them spilling the baby. And I think it did look really fun. Like, I would have liked to give it a go. Like, just the whole not trying to spill the water. I thought it was really good. There were some really, really funny moments in this task as well. Like, Sophie and I think Nick did it as well, using the baby to wipe the shoes. Like, that's just really funny. And Joanne, I think, did really well as well. I was really surprised at first when she tipped the water out. I thought that was a really big mistake, but it did work in her favour. The fact that it then made it less likely to spill water, but still probably something I wouldn't have done. But like, yeah, it worked for her. So yeah, I guess it was a smart idea, but it just seemed like very like shocking at the start. I also loved how Sophie kept saying she's going to make like smooth gliding movements, and then made some like really, really harsh movements and spilled a lot of water. Same with Nick. I think he definitely had a moment when he was hanging out in the laundry where he just made like one big move and just spilled a ton of water. Like, it did seem quite difficult. Like, I'm very surprised at how well they actually did. Like, I feel like I would have spilled a lot more water than they did. I thought Steve's attempt at this was probably my favourite. I just loved the way that he was like talking to the baby and also making the task more difficult for himself. Creating that line to hang the washing on, like completely not seeing where the actual washing was. And I'm surprised that Alex just let him carry on, because he was telling people where things were, like saying, oh, the dishes are in the caravan, things like that. But it was just like, yeah, I'm going to let Steve make this washing line and put my own clothes on it. Like, it was just that added element of like, why is Steve making things difficult for himself? And I think this is something that he's perhaps done a few little times before. Like, he is making things a bit more challenging for himself. But yeah, maybe that will be his downfall, because he's really smart and he has some really smart ideas. But it's little things like that that just make his attempts like not as high scoring as you maybe think they would be. But then he did have the idea of like feeding the baby, which I assumed counted towards his end score. I don't know, but it definitely felt like he did. But of course, John was the one who thought outside the box and took the baby harness off. But the way it was, like, they kept cutting back to the baby and the harness on the podium, I was thinking it was going to fall. So that added to like the tension as well, which we'll get onto more tense things later on. But yeah, really, really smart moves from John here as well. And I just love how they keep torturing him and make him think that he's getting disqualified. Just absolutely hilarious. I just think it's a really fun running joke. And I do kind of hope it does pay off on the fact that he is disqualified at some point later on, and maybe they make him think, like, kind of reverse it, make him think that he's done really well and then disqualify him right towards the like when they give up the points, which would be really mean to him. But I just think that they're setting up this like running joke with him, and yeah, it would just be really funny. The next task was to create the most tension in the room. I love the way this was set up, with Alex kind of making them a bit uncomfortable at the start. But yeah, Joanne straight away, absolutely like perfect attempt at this task. Like, when Alex is in the room, that's kind of the way you've got to go. Like, throughout Taskmaster, he's always been uncomfortable with like women doing things like that. There's been lots of moments like with Sally Phillips, Aisling Bea, I want to say as well. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? There's been that kind of like running thing that's gone on. The masks, when he wouldn't eat the mask off Katherine Ryan, I think, in the Champion of the Champions. So yeah, Joanne really like did this perfectly, in my opinion. Because, yeah, she made him so uncomfortable. And, the tension you could really, really feel as well. Just so many hilarious points in this, referring to herself as mother, hugging him, doing those, like, weird movements with their hands, talking about her dead dad and how he smelt like him and sniffing his beard. Like, she pulled out all the stops on this, and it was just hilarious. I thought it was brilliant, and she 100% deserved the 5 points on this task. Also things like asking his salary, so making him uncomfortable in that aspect. Just loads of weird moments and weird things that she was doing to create tension. Yeah, she just perfect. There's absolutely no criticism there at all. Sophie, on the other hand, definitely not her finest moment. I think she could have done so much more with this. Like, I get where she was going. Like, tension is like the build-up of perhaps something bad will happen. But yeah, standing one-legged on a table and balancing things on her head, probably not the best way to go. Like, there's loads of things she could have done with this. So yeah, definitely not her finest moment, and yeah, definitely 1 point worthy, unfortunately. John's idea I did like, again, kind of thinking outside the box and going for like literal tension and creating tension like with the ropes, and also like throwing the marble of something. I can't remember what he called it. But yeah, a good idea and thinking outside the box, but to me, I didn't really like it as much as the other things he's done. But yeah, I think 3 points is fair. Like, I think rewarding for kind of the different thinking, but the actual attempt at the task I wasn't a massive fan of. I did really like Nick and Steve's attempts. I thought both of them were really good in just complete opposite ways, and I agree with Greg's scoring. Like, Nick's was so bad, but like Greg said, there was that tension of like, oh, something's going to go wrong here, someone's going to get hurt. So unintentionally brilliant. Yeah, I just love that idea, because even if you just go with the idea of just pulling the tablecloth from under the glasses, like, there is that tension there, because, oh, the glasses are going to break. And the fact that the glasses did break and he was so bad at doing it, it just made it funny, and also, like, you know, natural tension there from it. So yeah, I do think maybe 4 points is a little high, maybe 3 points, but I did love it. I thought it was fantastic. And Steve, again, going with really cinematic, creative attempt at this task. I love the way that he just, like, it's obvious he has such a creative mind, and he is using that a lot in these tasks. I'm absolutely loving it. I thought the hangman game was good. I thought added tension of like the no vowel rules, added tension in the cinematography, the tension of there being a horrible thing to eat, even though they could have definitely made it more horrible. But yeah, I thought this was really good, and having Alex eating disgusting food at the end, it's just very Taskmaster. And I thought the assistant thing at the end, like the word that Steve chose, meaning assistant, was very, very good. But yeah, just not beating Joanne, unfortunately, because yeah, she definitely played into what would make Alex uncomfortable and tense. So yeah, just perfect. The studio task for this one was to catch the most monsters in the boxes, and the boxes being different scoring points. This I thought was really difficult, especially because I guess the only one that's kind of easy to catch and didn't lead to many points. So I probably would have tried to gone for catching things in the bucket in my back, because like it's a bigger surface area, like there's a bigger target to aim for rather than just the little pots on your head and stuff. It looked fun, but yeah, like I said, really difficult. Lots of fun moments in this. Sophie on the floor. Again, I probably would have gone with Greg and just let her have it, even though, like he did say, it's like pity points. But yeah, I was rooting for Nick. Seeing him catch all the ones, I was like, oh, he's doing so well. But unfortunately, it was all in the lowest scoring one, and of course he cheated. But yeah, I thought it was a really fun task. It would be something that I'd like to have a go at. I think it would have been really fun for the studio audience to watch as well. A lot more fun than the one we had in the last episode, where they were just like talking, like the movie guessing one. I do think that was a pretty poor studio task. But this one would have been really fun and entertaining to watch, like seeing the contestants sprawled out everywhere, Sophie lying on the stage floor, like catching the things. Like, I think that would have been a really fun one to watch. So yeah, this episode ended with John winning an episode, breaking Steve's 2-episode streak. And yeah, I think it was a really, really good episode, because all of these tasks I really enjoyed. I think they were just kind of like classic Taskmaster tasks as well. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. If you liked this video, then please leave a like. It really helps the channel. Comment down below what your favourite task was at this episode. And subscribe if you want to see more videos too of Taskmaster. I'll have some more videos out for you soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!